All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome,
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
welcome to
Good evening,
this
Professor.
second week of the course. Good evening. Good evening. All right. So we will be starting now. Please, 2 of the rules of the house. Mute your mic if you're not speaking, please. Mute your mic if you're not speaking. Then the second one is that please put your group number to your name right away. Please put your group number to your name right away so that we can get you sorted out when it is time to send you to the breakout rooms. So 2 things: mute your mic if you're not speaking. Then please put your group number to your name. Mute your mic if you're not speaking. Put your group number to your name. Last week we had some challenges because some people didn't put their group numbers. Some use their wives' gadgets, some use their husband's gadgets, and that made it difficult. For those who are joining now, please, the rule is mute your mic if you're not speaking. I mentioned it last week. Once you are not muted, I will remove you from the session. So please mute your mic if you're not speaking, and you can easily see whether your mic is muted or unmuted. Several of you can see that your mics are not muted. You can see it yourself, and then you can just click that button to mute it. So please mute your mic if you're not speaking. And if your mic is unmuted and the noise disturbs us, I mentioned it last week, I will begin to remove people from this session from this week. So mute your mic if you're not speaking. Put your group number to your name. Thank you. All right. So let me share my screen so that we can start. We have quite a lot to cover today. I guess some of you are just joining today, and if you are joining today, we had introduction. I hope those that as their mics are speaking actually don't want to be removed. Okay, so for those who are joining today, this is the second week of the African Science Frontiers Initiatives course in reproducibility in scientific research. This is the second week. We started last week. The course is running from last week until the 10th of 10th of February. So this is an important course. Some of you can already sense it from the introduction we had last week and the content we covered last week. So if you are just coming now, mute your mic, because from today I will be removing you from the session if your mic is disturbing. So mute your mic. We were clear about this last week. Okay, so reproducibility, last week we had introduction into it, and you can already begin to feel how important a course like this is. From the things we'll be doing today, the case studies we'll be reviewing, you will begin to see that the content of this course is essential for every one of us. Not just to have it once, but also to repeat it from time to time so that you get yourself up to date with what is happening. And that is why when we advertise this course, it is free. But to tell you the truth, the course itself is an expensive course. because of the information you will get, because of the knowledge you generate, and then because of the efforts that have been put to put it together. It's a very expensive course. But this is our own service as an organization to the African scientific landscape. And several of you are also joining from other parts of the world, which we welcome, because we want to continue to spread the standard practice, ensure that the research we as researchers engage in remain high quality. So those who are joining today, we have the sessions recorded. All the sessions are recorded. As you see here, this session is also being recorded. And that is why I started by saying that mute your mic when you join, so that it does not affect our session. Okay, so please do that to help us. Today we will be going through a lot of things. The last but one class, and that is on the 3rd of February. You have seen the content. What will happen that day? I've invited 3 of my PhD students to demonstrate how they have gone through the process of reproducibility, how they have implemented it in their own research, how they are implementing it, how difficult it is for them, what are their challenges, and so on and so forth. So that day, I will have them speak to us. Sure, that day is to demonstrate in real life how other people have done it. Then the other thing is we have a group project, and so please join your group and start the project. The data have been given to you. The explanations of what to do are there, the notes. So please join and begin to work on that. We do not have much time to accomplish that, because we want it to be a project you can finish before our last class. All right, so please join that. And the other thing, for those who are joining today, we mentioned, let me see if I can get the slide here. Let me find the slide. Okay. Okay, so let me share this slide for those who are joining today. Yes, we call this ASFI signature course task. These are series of activities we employ when teaching our courses to enhance learning, so that you can develop the skills. Okay, so there are 4 sets of things we do, and we are employing this course. We have the breakout sessions. That is a place where you get to know yourselves, where you get to deliberate on issues you are assigned to, digest those issues, and there are rules for collaboration. We have the nuggets. Each group in the course will be presenting their nuggets. Today, groups number 1 and 2 will be presenting their nuggets, and the nuggets are snapshots, experiences, challenges people have faced. Colleagues like us, scientists, researchers from different perspectives share their experiences, and so it is to look at those experiences and share that with us. We'll have the case studies. We'll be looking at the case studies today, appraising bad examples, and in this case, we'll call it examples of irreproducibility. And learning from bad examples so that we can avoid bad examples. And then the group projects to help you put what you have learned into practice. ASFI courses are hands-on. It's not a place where you come to listen. It's a place where you come to practice. And we do our best to give you all the information you need to implement the task that you assigned. And I tell you, we do really well with that. And I hope many of you agree. I guess you can also give me a thumbs up because we do good in that. So if you think that we have not done well, it's not us. Perhaps you have not followed all the instructions. For instance, today I had people complaining on the platform that they don't know their groups. That is not our fault. Okay, that's not our fault. Emails have been sent, several communications have been made. So please ensure that you are in tune with what is happening. If you follow all we do, I believe that you will not have any challenge. All right, revision of first day. We took some time to look at why African Science Frontiers Initiatives. For those who are joining for the first time and you have not had any encounter with African Science Frontiers Initiatives before, it is important that you can watch the video of last week. We took time, the introduction was to let you know this platform, what it's all about, what has brought it to be. All right. We abbreviate it as ASFI. Some people call it ASFI, some people call it ASFI, well, depending on where your grandmother and your grandfather have come from. But otherwise, if you just say it ASFI, no problem. If your grandparents have come from Britain, from Africa, from America, from wherever. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter what you call as far as the ASFI is reflected. The fact is that science is and research are the bedrock of societal development. And we mentioned it last week. And that is why many interventions across the world fail, because they are not based on evidence. All right? Okay. You can see what is happening. So, all right. So, because they are not based on evidence, it is very important that every intervention is based on evidence. Most times, you see, we rush into doing intervention. We rush into do intervention, but the motivation.
Anyway,
okay, I'll remove that one. And then we will decide when he will join again. All right, so we rush into intervention without generating evidence that motivate those interventions. And if you rush into intervention without underlying evidence that shows that that intervention works in what circumstances, at what time, in what place, then it is bound to fail. And the process that you use to know whether it works is research. So that is why researchers are important. Science is important for every society because we are the eyes that the society used to see. We help the society to gauge its processes. Okay. All right. Let me see. Make it go. Okay. So and I took you through some of the sorry state of our continent. from human capacity building to contribution to global science. Africa is the baby. Africa is the baby. And I don't know when we are going out of that. Well, I don't know when we are going out of that. Your guess is as mine. It's as good as mine. And well, we will continue to do our best to raise our capacity. Raise our capacity so that we can do better than what we are doing today. Okay, so that was the setting we set, why ASFI is here, and it is here to support African scientists to build capacity to be competent enough to undertake research, knowing that research is so important for the society, and so I can undertake research that brings impact to societal development. And from that, we went into introductions. So the concept we'll be working with in this course, we defined replication, we defined reproducibility. We had a breakout session in which the groups went and then deliberated on this concept. And they came back providing their insight, providing their insight and the synonyms of the words. And so it was clear that many groups confused reproducibility with replication, and they were using it vice versa. But we introduce the concepts to let you know that they are different. Replication is different from reproducibility. In science and in research, replication is the gold standard. All right. Somebody is requesting to record. Let me just clarify this again in case you are not there last week. Somebody is requesting to record but have denied you. And the reason are that we are recording this. After recording it, it will be available on the Google Drive folder of the course, possibly tonight or tomorrow. It will be there, so you can pick it up from there if you want to have it. But you don't necessarily need to have it because the recording will also be posted on the ASFI YouTube channel. All right, so somebody's
Thank you so much. It was me. Thank you.
Somebody is annotating my slides. Please mind what you touch, because you can actually make a mess of the whole thing. Okay, so you don't need to record it. Okay, it will be available for you. If you are joining now, mute your mic, else I will remove you. Mute your mic if you're joining. And then the second announcement I made when we started is put your group number to your name. I can see that many of you have not done that. So please put your group number to your name. It is easy for us to send you to your breakout sessions. All right. So replication is different from reproducibility. And I was saying that in science, in research, replication is the gold standard of scientific investigation. All right. And what it means is that the results of a prior study is the results of a prior study are duplicated in a new study or in another study by independent investigators, independent methods, independent data, independent equipment, independent protocols. Okay? If we are investigating a phenomenon, and I use, for example, we are looking at, for instance, the effect of flooding on academic performance of primary school children. The effect of flooding on academic performance of primary school children. Okay, so we go to Kenya and we do a study and we discover that in areas where there has been flooding, depending on what we define by flooding, okay? That's by the way. And we discover that in the areas where there have been flooding, the children perform poorer than the students coming from areas where there have been no flooding. And so in that study, we conclude that living in an area where there is flooding is associated or causes poor performance in school. All right? And somebody says, how is that possible? What does flooding do? How does flooding affect your brain? How does flooding affect your school performance? Well, I don't think. And then he starts, okay, let me go to Guatemala. And then he does the same thing. You see, somebody thought that we actually came here for party. The person is playing. Well, if you enjoy the music, you just enjoy it by yourself. Well, I'll remove the person. Okay, the person goes to Guatemala and says, well, this thing they have done in Kenya, let me see whether it works. And then he recruits, he does the study, whichever he does it, and then he comes out to say, wow, I found the same thing. Well, it doesn't mean that if in Kenya they conclude that in every 7 of 10 children who are affected by flooding do poor in their classes. Well, he may not find the same thing. He may find that maybe it is 5, it is 4, but he discovers that more students who are in a flooded area do poorer than students who are in non-flooded area.
Yeah.
In this case, the two research have been done by 2 different groups. All right? But now they are having the same conclusion, that flooding is not good for children's school performance. All right? As a reach conclusion, what it does is that the study done in Guatemala is a replication of the study done in Kenya. All right? Those who are not muted, you will soon be removed. Check your mic and ensure that it's muted because I can see some are still disturbing us. If you're not muted, mute yourself before you are removed now. All right, so it's a replication of what was done in Kenya. And somebody in Nepal catches the fever and says, wow, well, let me see what has been done in Kenya and Guatemala if it happens in Nepal. And he does the same thing and he shows the same trend. It's a replication. What happens is that phenomenon with such replications going around, that phenomenon can be said to be true. Flooding is not good for school performance of children. All right? That is why we say replication is the gold standard of scientific investigation. Once there is independence in that investigation, whether in investigators, whether in the method they have used, in the context, if there is confirmation of the results, then we say that phenomenon is true. And so you cannot challenge that result that has been replicated across board. All right, that is replication. As easy as that. As easy as that. Okay? That is replication. If your mic is muted, okay, let me just take that person.
Go, Agnes, and find out what you want.
Okay. Some people are very careful. In this world we are living, many things are happening. We are talking about reproducibility, not a very trivial thing here. All right, not a trivial thing here. Sorry, I don't know, something just muted me. Okay. All right, so that is replication, and I hope you got the point I made. Did you get the point I made about replication?
Yes, sir. Yes, Prof.
Okay, great. Now, reproducibility, we use the same example as we use for Kenya. We go out, the researchers in Kenya go out, they go out and they do that study. They do that study, okay? So they do that study in Kenya, painstakingly, okay? Implemented their protocol, did it very well, all right? Now, in the end, somebody sees that what they have found out, and the person said, well, is this true? I want to repeat what you have done. Give me your protocol. Give me your sample. And the person uses the same thing the previous researchers have done, uses the same method, the same material. All right? The investigators will be different here, but every other thing will be the same. Uses it to see if he will get the same results that the original researchers got. All right? If they got the same results, then that is reproducibility. All right? Okay, that is reproducibility. Yes, some people are asking, why don't you meet everyone? You see, we have tried this over and over again, and that is a problem. Now, somebody wants to speak, wants to ask a question, is muted, and he doesn't know where to click the raise hand button and all that. So we make it so that it's easier. But I think, personally, any meeting I join, it's like something is in my brain. Any meeting I join, since we started having online meetings, any meeting I join, something is in my brain that I will join, and automatically I will mute myself immediately. That is the first thing I do. And I think it's as simple as anything. As simple. It's not a difficult thing. Mute yourself. Once you join that meeting, you're not alone in that meeting. You are not speaking, mute yourself. Simple instructions. And I think we're old enough, since we started using online meetings, that this is a customary practice. Mute yourself. If you want to speak, the people who have made this gadget, these systems have made it so easy for us. If you want to speak, click the raise hand button, you'll be recognized. Or if not, then unmute yourself and speak. And after speaking, mute yourself. It's so easy, my people, isn't it? All right. So in replication, everything is independent, different. In reproducibility, everything is the same except the investigators. Everything is the same except the investigators. And last week, one of the things we brought to you was that achieving replication is challenging. It's a challenging process. Okay. Now, if the study in Guatemala failed to replicate what happened in Kenya, it may be as a result of a number of things. Okay. The Kenyan people might have done the study during the rainy season, might have done the study in several conditions. All right, the behavior of the investigators will be different. The things may just be, different in different ways that can affect the real study. And so that the person in Guatemala didn't confirm what the people in Kenya found may actually not be that phenomenon is true across board. It may be that there are influences in that study that caused that not to happen. So that is why we say replication is challenging and sometimes can be impossible to achieve. Okay? And in its absence, reproducibility is the minimum standard required of any study to achieve for us to really evaluate the quality of that study. Reproducibility, meaning that you do your study and somebody walks into your place you do your study and can repeat what you have done. All right? And so last week, we talked about synonyms of reproducibility. Do you remember some of those synonyms? Do you remember some of those synonyms you mentioned last week?
Yes.
Please let us know. Let us know. Just repeat them, please. Transparency. Yeah, I can see transparency there. That is right. Confirmation. Yes.
Validity.
That's right.
Validation.
Validation. Yeah. Validity. Yeah. And so on and so forth. Repeatability. Repeatability. So those are synonyms of reproducibility. Synonyms of reproducibility. Okay, then we introduce the activities we'll be taking through this course. All right, let me call on group number 1 to give us their nugget at this time. Group number 1, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Nwaru. This is Dr. Beatrice. I'm going to present the group 1 nugget. Am I able to share my screen?
Go ahead, please. You have the right.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, please. You can put it on the presentation mode, please.
Just a moment. Is it visible?
Yeah.
It's okay. Yes.
Just a moment.
And you have maximum 5 minutes to present, please.
Yes, now I'm unable to move up and down. Okay, I now know.
You can see
Okay.
that.
Okay. Okay, just a moment. So the title of the nugget is If a Job is Worth Doing, It is Worth Doing Twice. The paper is by Jonathan Russell of University of California in 2013. So I'm presenting on behalf of Group 1 members, and we started with the introduction, and we said that scientific research plays an important role in our understanding of the world, and that we saw last week. And in this paper, we saw that integrity of scientific research is threatened when research results cannot be reproduced. Last week, we were told by Professor that research is the bedrock of societal development, and a reproducibility crisis undermines public trust in scientific research, and this hinders the progress of science. Moving on, we defined reproducibility as the capacity to reproduce or recreate the results of an experiment, analysis, or study using the same methods, data, and procedures that were used originally. And what was this nugget all about? Many unproducible research findings plague biomedical research, leading to a waste of time and valuable resources. It also hinders development of new treatment and cures. So we should actually put emphasis on funding publications, irrespective of whether they are reproducible or not. False leads in research leads to a lot of time wastage and energy wastage, and many scientists and funding agencies object reproducibility. So what can be done? Biomedical research grants and funding should be tied to research replicability. We also saw that there should be a slowdown on novel research and carry out replication studies on research that have already been published. So actually researchers should slow down on novel research and carry out replication studies on research that have already been published. And we should also encourage publishing replication findings and link them to the original paper. This will boost the original researcher and the replicator and create a network and working relationship. What are the expected results? Time wasted to detect fraud will lessen and more time will be spent on publishing amendments. Secondly, more scientists will be involved in research to carry out the replication studies. Thirdly, replication results will bolster the reputation of the original author. And reproducible, high-risk, high-reward sciences will be discouraged, and less time will be wasted on invalid findings, and the society will win. What do we learn from this nugget? A paper might not be scientifically relevant, but it should be reproducible. Sharing reagents and methods is not difficult and should be encouraged, and research should be carried out meticulously so that it can be replicated should need arise. What do we learn? When research can be replicated, the principal author, the replicating agency, the funding agency, and the society benefits from the work, and career success should rest on the validity of findings rather than whether they are published in trendy journals. So if a job is worth doing, it is worth doing it twice. And before we go to, those are the references, but finally we said that not every paper needs to be medically relevant, but they should all be reproducible. Thank you. Back to you, Professor Nwaru.
All right, thank you. Thank you, group number one, for that. Any quick thoughts from anyone who wants to say something or ask any question before we move on? I guess this is clear. It is clear. All right, I have Oche Innocent. Actually, the real name is user Oche Innocent. Please go ahead.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, from the just concluded presentation, if I get her clear, there was this line where she talked about de-emphasizing novel study for existing study or to reproduce existing study. My question is, if we de-emphasize or slow down on novel research, how do we trigger and attain the much needed development of the continent that we're talking about?
All right. Group number one, do you have a quick response?
Yes, Prof. Hello, am I
Please.
audible, Prof?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, the argument among the scientific community is on either to stop the novel research and then concentrate on reproducibility, but then there's this divided attention. But then the conclusion is that no, we are not totally saying that there should be no novel research. But what we are saying is that the emphasis should shift, because the novel research the concentration is always on publication. The donor agencies, the grant agencies are more concerned about the publication. So, but if you want to get the result, then it is the other way around. So we are saying that the emphasis should reduce from publication of novel research, and then we now go into reproducibility, in which we can also do the publication. Thank you very much.
All right. I see Kiwo. I see a hand, Kiwo. Okay, well, let me move on. Let me just contribute to that. As you will see in the case studies we will be reviewing this evening, the term novel research, which is important. Novel means new. Novel means significant contribution. Something perhaps we don't know, something that clarifies, something that opens doors for us to study the word more, to understand the word more. And many journals want such studies, okay? So novel findings become hotcakes for journals, because many journals want to publish such first to get their profile and so on and so forth. So for that expectation, many researchers have devised means to find novel things. But those means are actually fraudulent means, engaging in misconduct, as we will see today, ranging from fraud to fabrication to plagiarism and so on and so forth, in order to showcase novelty. All right? And that is a problem. So the question is, with too much emphasis on novelty, why don't we also critically evaluate what people do, what people have done? All right? The call is not to pursue novel research, but the call is to be able to appraise what has been done through reproducibility practices. Okay? But the problem many people have is lack of training from doing research in the right way. Because as we will demonstrate from this course, you can do your research implementing reproducibility, whether it is novel research, it's not novel research, and it will stand the test of time. That is what research should be, okay? But unfortunately, many people do not have the experiences to do that, and it makes it difficult even for us to evaluate what they have done. Okay? So the issue here is not to stop. The issue here is actually to integrate reproducibility practices whilst we are doing our research. Whether our research will lead to novel findings or not novel findings. And that is why group number 1 was saying, not every research may be in the medical field, medically important, but every research should pass the test, just a paraphrasing of reproducibility. Okay, I hope that is clear enough. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, in 2005, John Ioannidis shook the world. John Ioannidis shook the world. He's a professor from Stanford University in the United States. He is, I think, he should belong among the first 5 most cited authors in medicine of all time. He should be among the first 5, I think. Okay. All right. So he's very, very, he's a voice. So in 2005, he shook the world by saying most published research findings are false. I will not go through his theories. He made the calculations. He's a medical doctor, statistician. He's a methodologist. He's a very clever guy, originally from Greece, but he's a voice. All right. So he published, and people were saying, how can he say that? How can he say that? But he proved his point. All right. And as time passed on, we started seeing that there are many, many rubbishes that are coming out in scientific publication. And then we saw some of the platform I will show to you. Retraction Watch. You see, COVID started 2020. If you just type COVID papers that have been withdrawn from publication, have been retracted, you will see many of them. So we began to see that many of the things people published, not publishing in African journals that have no standing, okay, in global ranking, but even in the toughest journals of the world, are based on fabricated data. And so people started taking notice that what John Ioannidis said perhaps may be true. All right. And then later on, we got this from the field of psychology. It says bad science. That is the title. And they say here, let me read. We often think that scientists are the most honest people around and assume that scientific findings are reliable and true. But several new studies have revealed that an enormous number of scientists cut corners, good data, and lie about results when conducting experiments. This is a world of bad science. And now, if I put this to your conscience, we started last week by saying that science is the eye of the society. Science provides the society solutions to its problems. Science is the bedrock of societal development. It is through this evidence generated by science that society can move forward. And now somebody comes and tells me that, you know, we have been looking for cure for headache. And now we have done this experiment. And it shows that if you take this particular medicine, your headache is cured within 30 minutes. And people say, wow, we hail it, we hail it, we hail it. Everywhere, the press will carry it everywhere in the world. The solution has been found for headache. And then somebody takes the medication. Instead of curing, the person dies, or the person gets disabilities or complications. And this is a repetition coming up. And people start asking, but what happened? Why? And there's some clever guys who will go, well, let's see, what did they do actually? I'll find out that, well, the data they used, it was cooked up, history data. And here, that's what he's saying. We often think that scientists are the most reliable people around. This is the word of bad science. All right, let me hear from you. What John said, is it true or false from your experience? Let me take the first 5 people that will raise their hand. The first 5. The first 5. I want hand raise. Okay. And I have Oche. Let me see who is raising the hand. Okay. I have one. Oche, you can speak. Yeah. I have Claudine. I have Uche, Ebenezer, and Emmanuel Mubanga. And the last one I have is Owoleke Veronica. Okay. So these 5 will go. Oche Innocent, please go ahead.
Yes, I think I agree.
Sorry, let me just add the last part of my question there. Discuss it also within the context of Africa, your experience. What are the implications? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think I agree with this thought. So my answer will be through. I'm privileged to be among the board of one journal here in my school. And I'm privileged as well to see the quality and kind of research papers that are submitted to be considered for publication. It's obvious how scientists cook a lot of data. You can even say, you can see it even before it goes through peer review at the editorial level. And so that's why I'm at home with this thought of a bad science. And truly, that is also affecting the result of research in our continent. You could, for example, see a scholar with close to 100 publications that is not adding to anything. Data are cooked. You could just pick up your PhD thesis and you are doing close to 7-8 publications out of it, cooking data here and there. So I'm at home with this. I agree with this because it's something I see every day from my desk, where I pursue my career.
All right. Thank you very much for that. All right. I have Claudine. Claudine, is your hand down? I don't see Claudine anymore. I said I didn't want more. My goodness. Okay, Uche, Ebenezer, go ahead.
Okay. Paul, good evening, sir. Just a recent experience I had doing some literature review for my PhD work. And I was going through some of the articles that some people had quoted, and they gave a misinterpretation of the results that the original authors had given in their work. And I was worried and was like, why would you represent somebody's opinion in a different way? It was clearly not what the authors were saying. And these authors also put it in a different way in their own work. And I was really, really disturbed because as an early career researcher, I was really disturbed about it. I was like, this really how research is? And I began to ask questions, and people said yes, that sometimes authors misinterpret what others have written just to, create a buzz for them and all of that. So, and implications for us in Africa is that if we continue like this, people who are coming to research will not have a broad understanding of what the issues are, and may also go ahead to keep misinterpreting data that original authors had already given out in the space out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. Okay, I have Emmanuel Mubanga. Yes, please.
Good evening, Professor. Good evening, everyone. Professor, I'm a practicing doctor in Zambia, and I'm also doing my master's public health with the University of Zambia. So what I've observed during this time is that there's too much use of artificial intelligence among researchers, among students. So this really compromises the work output, because we don't want to own the works. We don't want to do the original works. And if we rely to copy from internet or artificial intelligence, just extract information exactly from there, we are not going to come up with the original or novel information that can be used to practice or indeed to implement intervention. So I think as African researchers, we should be genuine. We should stick to our ethics when we're doing research. Our conscience should be at the core of practice. And indeed, when we do that, then we're going to produce what is original and what work out for implementation and practice. I submit.
All right, thank you. And then I have Owoleke Veronica.
Okay. Good evening, Professor. Good evening, everybody in the house. I agree with the saying that most published research are false. The angle I'll be looking at it is that the data we collect, most times, after collecting the data, we extrapolate the results we have gotten. If, for instance, we are supposed to sample collect 100 samples or analyze 100 samples, mainly because of insufficient fund. There's no sufficient money to carry out analysis to the extent you're supposed to. You discover that instead of 100, you reduce it to 50, and from the results you've gotten from 50, you extrapolate it to get 100. So doing that at the end of the day, the results gotten, the results published, is not a true reflection of what you have claimed. So I support what John has said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me take the final one to replace Claudine. Uchechi is the first one I have here. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I want to support the thought that we are in an era of bad science, and I'll be looking at it from my own angle based on my own experience. And I'll be talking about laboratory bottlenecks in Nigeria and I think in other African countries. You see, sometimes a researcher is carrying out his or her research genuinely, but you face issues where you want to analyze your samples, knowing that we have a poor infrastructure. And so sometimes you're not able to access the laboratory equipment you want to use for your research. And then by sending out your work, the technicians play around with your results and sometimes cook up results for you in what I call predatory lab and give you results that are not it. And then when you write your study or publish your work, you find out that your claims are not reproducible. You try to do it again in another lab, you get something different. I don't even know which one to believe it's correct. That's my own submission. So I agree that we're really in an era of bad science, and I don't know how we'll be able to get out of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Uchechi. Okay. So sorry for those who are still raising their hand. I think we will have other sessions where you can contribute, but now let's move on. Okay. So what I see all of you saying that you agree, nobody argued with John. Okay. We're in an era of bad science, and even for Africa. Is there anyone who disagrees? I can take that one. Anyone who clearly disagrees? Okay, I see Timothy wrote to me. Timothy, do you disagree?
Thank you very much. Well, I'm not taking what have been said hook, like, and sinker, because we are in an international community now. And when we say most research are false, the implication, the perspective with which you are given by the presenter is that maybe deliberately they want to make it false. And that's why I raised up my hand, that many times it is not that they want to cook up data, but just like last speaker spoke, the instrument they are using and the laboratory where the work is done is what actually falsify their result. But not that many people intentionally want to play pranks, and it is what they've got that they have to report. So that's my own contribution. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Timothy. I think the point you made is very, very important. And John was not also saying that everything is intentional. Okay, that is not what he was saying. But we'll get to that when we begin to look at the case studies and begin to analyze the reasons for the misconduct that were carried out. But eventually, whether it is intentional act or unintentional act or mistakes, making those analyses, he made the strong conclusion that most published research are false. All right, are false. Well, we will come to the reasons, and we'll analyze those issues. Okay. All right. This is also in 2016. Nature is one of the toughest journals in the world. Nature is one of the toughest journals in the world, and it's publishing research across the natural and the physical sciences as far as it concerns what happens within our space of the universe. All right. And so in 2016, they sent out a survey to researchers, about 1,500 researchers. They sent out the research to ask them, is there a reproducibility crisis in science? All right, that was the main question they went out to them. And you can see here, this is like a pie chart, and they have shown here, they said 52% of those who responded says, yes, there is a significant crisis. 38% said, yes, a slight crisis. 3% says, no, there is no crisis. And 7% says, they don't know. If you put 52 and 38, is there a mathematician who can give us the sum? That is 90.
That is 90%.
90%. 90% of scientists say yes, whether we mention it, whether it's significant or slight, but whether there is reproducibility crisis, 90% says it. And what that means is that a piece of research is performed, but cannot be repeated by others using the same method the researchers have used. So a researcher does something, maybe performs an experiment in the lab, and the other researchers come to do the same experiment, and they don't get the same results they have got. And so we say there is a reproducibility crisis. Have you ever tried to publish a reproduction attempt? So people who have actually now done the research, done the reproducibility exercise, taken the protocol others have used, done the same experiment, and they have found their own results? Have you tried to publish it? 24% of those who succeeded in reproducing the results have been able to publish, compared to only 13% of those that actually were not successful with the reproducibility exercise published. So even the journals, if you do a reproducibility exercise in which you do the same thing others have done, and then you say, okay, let me publish it to show that what they did before was true or not true, journals are biased towards the reproducibility exercise that was successful. It's understandable that a journal will say, well, if we publish this, for instance, what will be the impact on our reputation? You understand? What will be the impact on our reputation, and so on and so forth. And then they can decide, well, let's not publish it. So even from the point of view of the journals, there is a sentiment on that. A sentiment on that. All right? Okay. Then they have another question. Have you failed to reproduce an experiment? And they looked at this across different fields. All right? In chemistry, most people fail to reproduce the experiment of the others, compared to those who actually do their own experiment and fail to reproduce their own experiment. And Uchechi and Timothy were given an example that, you know, due to the situation, for instance, in some African settings, you do not have the facilities to do your own experiment. You give it out to other people to do it for you, and then after that, you cannot reproduce it when you do it in other. So your own experiment, you can't even reproduce your own experiment, and that goes. They looked at it from different fields. All right, but chemistry was the most common field where there are problems. You have biology, physics and engineering, and so on and so forth. How much published work in your field is reproducible? How much published work in your field is reproducible? And this also, they have done it across field. All right? And chemistry seems to be leading also in this. All right, have you established procedures for reproducibility? They asked the scientists. Among the most popular strategies was having different lab members redo the experiments, okay? Have you established procedures for reproducibility? No, 34%. 26% procedures have been in place since I started working in my lab, okay? 33% says within the past 5 years, yes. And 7% says more than 5 years ago. All right? So this number is also significant when 34% says no. Okay, so that was the experiment, the survey Nature carried out that actually brought some data to these issues from these different fields that were included, and that added the pressure on scientists across fields. This was really an important survey because it added the pressure on scientists, and people started looking at themselves. Wow, we don't even have something like this. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. And that started giving concerns across board for the cases where there is no reproducibility. What can cause it? What are the motivations? Is it the fault of the researcher? Is it the fault of the instrument? Is it the fault of the conditions, the labs? And eventually, many of those cases that could not be reproduced were actually intentional misconduct. That was clear. And then several cases started popping up. Some of the top research that were published in some journals, people started having a closer look, scrutinizing, to say that, wow, we can see misconduct. We can see fraudulent practices. We can see fabrication. We can see falsification. We can see people plagiarizing. We can see people stealing intentionally. So it is not just a thing that there is a mistake or unintentional act. We can see evidence that some scientists set out to mislead. Well, perhaps this is not new to the society, because across every human endeavor, you can see that the human mind most often is strategically posed to mislead, to fraud. Yeah, most often. There is whether it's in the religious circle, whether it's in the political circle, whether it's in the economic circle, the human mind is very amenable to corruption and misconduct. And that is why the cases we have today, we will look at them to show what is actually. So these are types of research misconducts that out there. All right. Fabrication, some researchers engage in fabrication. Invention of data or cases. Well, in the term we have seen before, it's a cooking up data, in which you manipulate your research by cooking up data, adding data, subtracting data, amending data, so that you can have finding that is, in quotes, novel, finding that is interesting, finding that can be published, finding that can raise the interests of people. All right? Falsification, willful distortion of data or results. Well, I set out to test the hypothesis that this medication will cure headache. And then when I have done the experiment, I found out that it will not. There's no evidence. And then I said, well, all this effort I've put, no journal will accept this. Well, let me just do something. Then you distort the data to make it actually show what you did not find. And then you conclude that This medication can cure headache. You destroy the data. Plagiarism, copying ideas of data or words of others without attribution. You use it like it's yours. You are not attributing the source of the information you have used in your research. Authorship, assigning authorships without adequate contribution, mentioning authors without their consent, failing to include authors who are original contributors, naming authors in the wrong order or incorrectly. Yep. Have you been the case? I remember when I was studying many years ago, and I've heard people say that, you know, I did this experiment for my thesis, for my master thesis, and after I finished, my supervisor went, took my work, removed my name, put his name, put her name, and published it. Can you imagine that? Can you see that? Has anybody heard about that before? I hope I'm not just making it up. Nope. But I heard something like that. Has anybody heard anything like that here before?
It's a common
Yes.
practice.
It's common.
It's normal.
It's normal. Goodness me. Why should it be normal?
That practice has been conventionalized by many. In fact, they see it as nothing as wrong.
Goodness me.
Even in the Western world, it's happening.
Really?
Because they lack conscience, good conscience.
My goodness. So,
Prof, can I say something?
Yes, please.
I think it's because most people don't know. I just went through an ethic course this week, and most of the people that attended didn't know most of these rules. They were like, "Are you sure? Is that the right thing?" I was surprised. So sometimes people are not even educated, although there are some people that are educated, they are still doing the wrong thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Some people here are even saying that they are victims.
Prof, can I say more about that?
I've been a
please.
victim of that before.
Yeah, some supervisors will mandate students to extract, and the good ones are the ones that will put the name of the students as the fourth or the fifth author. Others, you will see the name of the supervisor and his friends, and then the real student that did the work, the name will be expunged.
Wow. This is serious. This is serious. Well, you know the vision of ASFI. We have stated it. And that is why we are moving a bandwagon. We are moving a bandwagon. A group of people that will represent the tenet of science. Raising the next generation of African scientists with the right competencies to drive Africa's developmental and transformational agenda, in which we give people opportunity to express themselves. And when you express yourself, you take the practice you have learned and inculcate it into your students. And that is how what I call the scientific revolution last week started happening. There's a change in attitude. There's a change in practice. There is a change in mindset. People begin to do things because it is the right thing to do. We begin to do things recognizing that what I do today has implications. That I have a stake. And that my research is aimed for the benefit of the society. So I must adhere with the rules of engagement. This is important. Okay? So such practices. Yes. Who wants to speak, please?
All right. I just want to say that managing supervisors, some supervisors is the main work and research career in Nigeria, specifically, some supervisors.
So that is a challenge.
Yeah.
You see, I will come. It's just few minutes, so I will get to that point. How do I put this? We have a mandate. We have a mandate. The scientific community, as I was saying before, has been corrupted to a large extent, very large extent. The same practices hunters are practicing in the bush have been brought. The same practices politicians, local politicians are practicing have been brought up because of mundane interest. But we have a mandate. And once that mandate is corrupted, then we have lost it. The society will be in a mess. And so if you're a supervisor and you do not have the mandate that I'm here to empower you, encourage you, support you, lead you to take my place in the future, and then you're looking after yourself, then our mandate is corrupted. We have a mandate, and that mandate, we need to fix our eyes on it. And once we fix our eyes on it, to know that this mandate is important, and amongst all people who are living in the society we are living, we have the greatest stake because we represent the eye of the society. If we do not fix our eyes on that, that mandate can be corrupted and they will begin to engage in practices that are contrary, injurious to our mandate, and we hinder it. And some of the statistics I showed you last week, you can see what you are saying, then you can find the reason why Africa remains where it is. Can you imagine what is happening in Israel? I'm not talking about the war. Even in many of the Arab nations, many of the desert nations there. Can you imagine that some of those nations are building cities in the desert? And still, they're able to generate water. That is a commodity that is scarce. So scarce in the desert, but they're able to go to the point of generating water and build cities in the desert. That is what? Based on science research. And they can do things that are unthinkable, positive things for their society. That is the mandate I'm talking about. In Africa, 50% of the land of Africa is arable. We have sufficient rain. But you know that conflicts we import from the West. The bra we import from the West. The children feeding food we import from the West. But we can actually, if we're serious, implement our mandate, we can feed much of the world. Look at what is happening in Russia. Russia and Ukraine is affecting Africa so much because much of the wheat we need to make bread is coming from Ukraine. And it means that if Ukraine is in trouble, Africa, which has a better land to do what Ukraine is doing, cannot survive. And here, instead of bringing capacity that will help people to explore, become better, contribute. You're telling me supervisors make life difficult. It's difficult to imagine. It's difficult to imagine. Well, that is where we are. I hope that we, as a group, we can see it and take forward steps that can make us to achieve what we actually initially, when you were young, your father, your mother, your uncles, those around you ask, what do you want to do? You say, well, I want to be a medical doctor. I want to be a lawyer. Why do you want to be a lawyer? Because I want to defend people who can't defend themselves. Why do you want to be a medical doctor? Because I want to help people. What do you want to be an engineer? Because I want to help myself to build structures. We need to go back to those motivations, because it seems that when we just enter the place, we forget all we have aspired. And if we continue that trajectory, even the generations ahead will be in trouble. All right. In 2015, Friedman and his colleagues, they went out to investigate how common is irreproducibility. All right. And they did this in a systematic review. And they showed that some studies show that up to 89% of studies are irreproducible. And that ranges from 51% to 89%. So it means that irreproducible research is much more than 50%. And they also looked at how many scientists fabricate and falsify research. All right. They found that a large number of scientists do that. So something not so good is happening in the science landscape. Sometimes we are either victims or we are part of the process. Or this course is open for us to have a reflection and then see how we can work towards overcoming this and then achieving what we actually set out to achieve originally. All right. So let me just talk quickly about what we call the ethos of scientific research. And this was done by, presented or written by Robert Merton in 1942. He proposed this many years ago. And ethos here actually means values. Values of scientific research. And he proposed 4 core ethos or 4 core values, which he called universalism, communality, disinterestedness, and organized skepticism. Follow me. This was Robert Merton's proposal. That scientific research has 4 core values. And so every scientist needs to know these 4 core values. And when you know these values, it becomes a platform through which you catalyze your research and do it well. You need to wear it as a coat. You need to have as a guide. Many of us don't know that. We just enter the research. Yeah, you want to do research? And then we'll start doing it. But we don't know why we do what we do. All right? Why we do what we do. Many times we don't know why we do what we do. Okay? The first one is universalism. According to Robert, he says scientific findings are not personal. Scientific findings are not personal. Do I need to repeat this? Because I started saying it from the first day. Because they are not personal, when you engage in research, all personal attributes should be excluded. Today, I am in Sweden. I'm from Nigeria. I'm doing research that will be useful to Sweden and perhaps by extension, the world. But Sweden will be my first target. That I'm from Nigeria should not make me to do that research with Nigerianness or Africanness. So it means that a scientist lands in any context and performs research that will be useful to that context because your context is universal. Your context is humanity. So whether you're a politician, it matters nothing. All right? Your personal attribute must not come into play. And so he said, with right training and what we are doing through this course, anyone can contribute to science. Do you get what I'm saying here? Do you understand? Do you understand the concept he's trying to make here? Oh, don't tell me that you don't understand. Is it clear to you? When he says that scientific research, scientific results, scientific findings are universal. Is it clear to somebody here?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yes, it is.
Great.
Yes, it's clear.
Yes.
Very, very clear, understood.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Now, the second value he proposed is communality. Communality. Evidence generation should be through active collaboration within the scientific community, open to exchange of ideas, discussion and consensus, sharing of evidence. Secrecy is antithesis of scientific research. Did you get that? Have you noticed anyone around where you work who is very secretive about their research?
She's more
There are
here.
many.
Yes, I have.
There are so many.
Many of them.
There are too many.
They are the ones cooking up the results.
You people are frightening me. Or there's no question I've asked. You say no.
For me, is it many of them or many of us?
Many of us.
Many of us, Prof, we are living witnesses.
Okay. So you're part of the thing, eh?
Now,
You're
what
doing it.
we are saying, in essence, Prof, you have colleagues that, for instance, they will never discuss what they are doing with you, everything. But then within a year, you see them publishing like 15, 20, maybe local journals. But you will never know what they are doing. They don't even consult with problems that
They don't go to the lab.
They don't go anywhere. They sit down, and then you see when promotion comes, somebody is needing to have 15 papers, giving 40.
Exactly. You are making a point. You hardly meet them in the library or in the lab, but
They don't go to lab.
once it's time for promotion, you see them come up with volumes.
I know
They
some
work from home.
Okay, thank you very much.
Prof, it is not
Thank
on
you very
all
much.
cases.
It's enough. It's
Not
enough.
a case of working from
It is
home.
related.
It's enough. It's enough. My ears are full now. Okay, so what you're saying, it's, you see, this was 1942. Robert Merton was giving prescriptions of things that should guide what we do. And if we do them right, then we achieve our mandate. Because if we're the eye of the society, we are all working to make the society a better place, then we should be open to do that. But most often, we personalize these things. Why? Because we don't even know the mandate we are working on. We are working on getting promotion. But that is not your mandate. If you're working on getting promotion, you're a failure. Trust me, you are a failure. You know why? Because I wanted, well, let me give you a name. Let me give you a name here now. Let me give you a name. I'll put it on the chat box, please. Just follow that name. Later on, you can check it. This was my boss. I did part of my Aziz Sheikh. He is one of the toppest, one of the toppest cited scientists in the field of medicine, public health, epidemiology. Okay? He's only 55 years. 55 years. He's knighted. The Queen knighted him before she died. He's originally from Pakistan. His parents came from Pakistan to the UK. Please, if you have not meet yourself because you're disturbing us. I heard some noise there. All right? But he grew up in the UK. He was born in the UK. He grew up in the UK. He is, let me take off that person. Please just give me a minute. It's out. This guy he was knighted, I think last year or 2 years ago. I can't, but it was recent before the Queen died. He was knighted for his research. He has received OBE before, and then he's in Edinburgh, although now he's moving. He has been tapped by Oxford. Oxford is picking him up now. So I did part of my postdoc with him. He's a guy I will never forget. We still collaborate. But there's one thing he taught me when I went to Edinburgh. One thing I learned from him. He taught me that those who share receive more. And that's a principle. And I think every religion has that. I mean, that's a universal principle. If you share, if you open your door, you can't stop. You continue to get. And so this guy was so prolifically collaborative. He knows everybody in the field. So if I go there and I discuss with him and I have an issue, he will say, okay, Brian, I will call somebody from Sheffield and I will link you up. I will call somebody from London, I will link you up. And he taught me a secret. Collaborate, open your doors, share. And I have taken that into what I do. And I tell you, it is mind-blowing. And so if you are doing research and you are hide and seek. Your colleague is knocking on the door, you put it under the, you will be buried even before you die. Because what we are doing is a communal task. A communal task. Well, let me not say so much about that. Okay? This interestedness, scientific research should be devoid of personal interest. We have said that. But here it's talking about monetary motivations and other interests should be taken out. Conflict of interest should be taken out. Don't allow these things to hinder your clear sight. All right? So our motivation is to uncover the truth, understand how our world works. So don't allow any barrier to hinder you from achieving that. And finally, organized skepticism. And so what he's saying here is scientists should not take findings at face value. Scrutiny should be strictly part of the process. Active peer review process is indispensable. Replication and reproducibility are indispensable. So in the scientific research, we set out to uncover the truth. We set out to ensure that what we find out are the truth, are valid, are reliable. So that is why we have gatekeepers. When you submit your paper to a journal, you have the gatekeepers, the reviewers, who take your work and review it. Does it meet the standard? Should it be published? Does it tell the truth of what happens? So we are involved in this organized skepticism. We shouldn't just because somebody has published it and we take it. Or we see a name of our supervisor, this thing has been published, has been submitted by our supervisor, and then we don't look at it carefully. Nope. It should be devoid of any interest, any personal attachment. We should look at the evidence generated. The evidence is what guides us. All right? Why do we do research? The summary here is what we have said to make our world a better place. All right, group number 2, give us your nugget. So we can go to the next thing here. Group number 2.
Okay, I will share.
Do so, please. And every group, please get ready with your case study. It's 7 minutes each group. All right, so get ready with your case study. 7 minutes maximum each group. All right, go ahead. Group number 2.
Is it clear? My screen is clear? Okay.
Yeah, it's clear.
My nugget is about faculty promotion. Must assess reproducibility. I am Dr. Aisha I will present on behalf of Group 2. Our nugget author is Jeffrey Flyer, who was Dean of Harvard Medical School. Our general objective is to analyze reproducibility nugget in faculty promotion. Our outline of our presentation, causes of irreproducible research, current criteria of faculty promotion in universities, how faculty promotion process assesses reproducibility. Here, the author put most important or most common causes of irreproducible research used to promote staff or faculty member in most of universities. Some examples of that is increasing competition, inadequate training, scientific misconduct, problem in peer review and publishing. And here, the second point is the current criteria of faculty promotion in most of universities, and put in the nugget or in the paper to present the current state in the Harvard Medical School. Faculty should contribute mainly to important paper with large complex authorship rather than by publishing a paper as clear senior author. Also, how will a candidate can participate in team science, clinical research, educational innovation, and leadership. And the last point he presented in the paper is how the faculty promotion assesses reproducibility. And he suggested 2 points. We divided them into institutional role and the candidate for faculty promotion role. The first one is institutional role. And here some suggestions for the institution to assess reproducibility in promotion of faculty. One of them to assign 5 to 10 experts to write confidential letters about the candidate. They should also assess how a field would be different without candidate contribution. They also should survey candidate accomplishment, scholarship, and recognition. And they also should describe attempts to build a candidate work and any controversies involved. Lastly, they should display whether candidate work has been reproduced and broadly accepted. The last point is the candidate role in the process of promotion is to critically assess their research, including an answered question, creating a mechanism by which to judge candidate capacity for critical self-reflection. They also account for alternative explanatory frameworks such as differing conception. Also, the author suggested self-skepticism in which science demonstrate deep understanding of the limitation in their approaches. Also, researchers should use proper experimental design and analysis. And lastly, they should increase interdisciplinary projects beyond to be extended beyond individual investigator expertise. And the last point in which Beverly Flyer, who was the author, he recommended that overtime efforts to increase the ratio between self-reflection to self-promotion may be the best way to improve science, and without this recommendation, the change will be difficult. And thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Group number 2. Thank you. All right. Let's see the next thing. 5 minutes. 5 minutes break. So the 5 minutes, please, I want you to use it. Stretch your legs. Each group gets ready for the nugget. For the case studies. It's 7 minutes. 7 minutes, I will stop you. So don't go beyond 7 minutes. If you do it shorter, it's better. So we return 5 minutes to the hour, 5 minutes to the hour, and then we start with group. Let me see. The group number 6 is going first. Group number 6. So when you come back, you raise your hand so that we can recognize you. So let's have 5 minutes break and then we'll continue. All right. So group number 6 is your turn to start now. Who is presenting for group number 6? And after group number 6 is 3, 5, 1. So all groups get ready. Group number 6 is presenting for you. When I call you and I don't get response, I will bypass you. And then
we are ready,
go to the
sir.
next group. Yes,
we are
please.
ready.
Let's share your screen and go ahead. We don't have time.
Okay.
Group number 6, you're eating into your time.
Sorry. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Okay, I am Veronica Enya. I'm presenting for Group 6, and our topic is on Victor Ninov 118, the element that never was. Our presentation on Ninov is based on the outlines shown on the screen. Victor Ninov was a 64-year-old Bulgarian and a former researcher with interest in super heavy elements. He worked in Germany before moving to Berkeley in California, USA. And in 1999, 13th April precisely, he handed a one-page hand-drawn chart as his evidence of creating novel elements. There was a problem because results of the experiment were fabricated. His own group, when they were asked to go back to drawing board, his own group could not reproduce the results of their experiment. And France and Japanese teams also tried without any luck. His fellow scientists in the scientific community, there was confusion because he could not provide any answer to the numerous questions they have for him on his new claims of discovering Ninov. No reproducibility was established because depending on who handled the result, the software, he was the only person that analyzed the data. When he analyzes, he will claim to have result. When others handle the same software, they will have a different results. And poor documentation and lack of transparency mar his experimental procedures. When that so-called discovery was further scrutinized, it was clear that it has been fabricated. That's misconduct under fabrication. But the good news is that there's remedy to forestall such occurrence put in place by ensuring reproducibility. Then another remedy is that he was sanctioned after being found guilty in 2002 and dismissed. So he's no longer a researcher, he's being referred to as former researcher. And they've put in place strict guidelines for authorship. Promotion of collaborative research is more deliberate, and provision for validation of results are being ensured. And there's deliberate expansion of ethical guidelines and provisions for training on scientific misconduct through conferences. For the impact of the case on the field of research, science, and society, we agree that it wastes resources, both human and financial, when newer research or work are based on fraudulent research findings. Lack of clarity can impede on the ability of other scientists to replicate the experiments. Poor documentation and incomplete reporting can pose obstacle to reproducibility. It can make society to doubt authenticity and integrity of research results or findings. And also, the corporate image of the host facility and the integrity of members of the research team are usually highly compromised. For further thoughts, we agree that there is need for deliberate training of scientists globally on research reproducibility, as the African Science Frontier Initiative is doing. Best practices should be promoted for all research studies by subjecting research proposals to ethical reviews. Peer review processes for scientific paper cannot be overemphasized to avoid the implication of gift authorship. Strict implementation of quality management system for all scientific research work should adequately be promoted, because unless an activity is documented, it is not done. Collaborative research and multidisciplinary authorship should be encouraged. And these are our references. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, group number 6. Group number 3, are you ready? All right, please. I see Israel. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay. Good evening, Professor Wang, and good evening, distinguished colleagues.
Yeah.
Please confirm you can hear me.
Yeah, your line is not so
can you
good,
see my
but
screen?
yeah, we can see your screen. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so I'll be talking quickly on behalf of Group 3, Reproducibility in Scientific Research. And our case study is Haruko Obokata. So here, description of the case, we have the name of the researcher, Dr. Haruko Obokata, and her discipline is in cell biology. She's from Japan, that's continent Asia, and the case, as coined by Lancaster in 2016, is the stap cell saga. So the case proper, in 2014, Obokata and her colleagues published papers indicating that they have developed a new method of converting somatic cells to stem cells, and their method was just subject them to stress and then achieve what they said they should. So the research outputs, specifically from the publication, was that somatic cells, any kind of somatic cell, can then now become a stem cell, which is, of course, a real breakthrough in the research field of biotechnology and cell biology. So the problem with the case, obviously, reproducibility. After their publication, other laboratories, because they just published that they had discovered a simple and an inexpensive way. So other researchers tried out the procedure and they were unable to reproduce it. So this led to more intense scrutiny of the work. And then they realized that most of the published data were images of previous works, which were manipulated to give desired results. On the question about reproducibility issue in the case, we all agreed in the group, yes. Like I already highlighted, after the publication, the validity of the findings could not be reproduced. And then the institute, right, set up a special lab for her and gave her some time to reproduce what she has published, but she was unable to. So for this specific case, we agreed that there was no remedy, but Lacanster 2016, who coined the term star cell saga,
What happened? Group number 3, Israel was presenting. Is out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you dropped off. Can you share a screen again? And yeah.
So sorry, my network became unstable. Okay.
Chikeloba, can you mute yourself, please? I've done that several times before I remove you.
Okay, so I was going to talk about impact on research, science, and society. First, there was need to reassess and strengthen research oversight. I'm still having network issues. And then, of course, there was now an improvement in the peer review process and intellectual resources. And of course, it was going to set a new tone when it comes to the publication of novel research outcomes, in quotes, making it more difficult. On other thoughts, we agreed on several diverse possibilities, like research misconduct leads to the erosion of trust. Then there's also research allocation concerns, because a whole lot goes into conducting these researches and then trying to confirm if they are reproducible. Also, we have, as part of other thoughts, the need or the role of publishers, especially in the peer review process. And then the watchword for researchers in research should always be integrity. So these are the references for the work, and thank you.
All right, thank you for group number 5. Yes, I can see that many of the groups, yeah, they are just, I will bring you up. You have done well, but there are some aspects of these cases you have not actually reviewed. You know, when we talk about the impact on the society and science, particularly in this case you have just reviewed now, what happened to the supervisor of this researcher? What happened to him?
Okay, he committed suicide.
See, you didn't bring that information. He committed suicide. That is an impact. All right? The step he took eventually led to his death. But this Haruko, what happened to her?
She lost her position.
She lost her position. All right? That position was what they were looking for, to get position, to get promoted, to get fame, to get name. The supervisor committed suicide and he died. He lost her position. And when the society is hearing all this, what is going on in the mind of the society? This is an era of bad science. All right, group number 5, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me and see the screen as well?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, you. Hi, this is Hadi Adil from Group 5, and our case study was John Hendrik Schon. Thanks to all the members of Group number 5. Today, in the next few minutes, we'll get to know who is John Hendrik Schon, and we'll get to know his story and his scandal and how did it impact the scientific community and how to avoid similar incidents. Well, John Hendrik Schon is a German physicist. He received his PhD in 1997 and started working at Bell Laboratories at 1998. And for those who don't know what is Bell Laboratories, they are one of the most prestigious research labs in the world. Sean's worked on what's called superconductors, and you will find an interesting YouTube video in the references to get to know more about what are superconductors. Well, his work on superconductors seemed to make dramatic progress, and Sean managed to publish in prominent journals such as Science and Nature. He even reached a peak where he managed to submit an article per week in 2001, and he received so many awards for his discoveries. Well, but this unusually high productivity rate and extraordinary results, it raised suspicion among his colleagues, especially when other researchers tried to reproduce his work, they didn't manage to get the same results as he claimed he did. Other scientists eventually discovered that his papers, different papers of his work, reporting different experiments, contained identical graphs. All of this altered officials at Bell Laboratories, who formed a misconduct investigation committee, and they found a compelling evidence of data manipulation and misinterpretation, which led to withdrawal of almost 30 papers of his work during the period of 2002 to 2003. And in 2004, unfortunately, he had to lose his PhD due to dishonorable conduct. The following problems were the problems why the work of Sean was not reproducible. It was due to data manipulation or misinterpretation, due to data duplication and fabrication of results. This case had a huge impact on the society of research because some said that he almost faked his way out to Nobel Prize. It shows that even prestigious or researchers working for prestigious institutions and managing to publish in one of the world's biggest journals, they can even still conduct scientific misconduct. It also shows that anomalies or research anomalies can only be detected a peer review process, and these anomalies make reproducibility in research difficult. It also aroused awareness towards the rules and responsibilities of co-authors. Although many of his papers were retracted, they remain cited even 15 years after these retraction notices were published, and this also raises the awareness toward the fact that retracted papers for fraud should not be cited or used anymore. Unfortunately, this doesn't happen. So, to sum up the life of Sean, he received his PhD in 1997, worked for Bell Lab in 1998, reached the peak in 2001, then his grand fall was between 2002 and 2003. Unfortunately, he had to lose his PhD in 2004. In other words, it's the story of how to lose your PhD degree in 7 years. The question is how to avoid similar incidents. We believe it's through enhancing peer review process. This is a simple figure. You will also find it in the references. It shows the peer review process. So you're working for a company or university, and then you submit your work for a journal. This journal hires editors to review your work, and when they found interesting piece of work, they submit it to reviewer. Now the reviewer is someone anonymous, someone working for free. He doesn't follow anyone. He critiques the paper and then give it back to the editor, who gives it back to the main researcher. And then the process go back and forth till the paper is accepted or rejected. We believe that more emphasis and focus on this process would help avoiding similar incidents. Also, we believe that using artificial intelligence, we can make use of artificial intelligence to identify misconduct and verify the authenticity of the research. Also, we have to change the culture of academic institutions and universities. Instead of pushing researchers towards publishing more, we have to draw their attention to the importance of integrity and honesty and value of their work. And finally, we believe that journals may be able to critically audit all papers before going public or going to press. These are the references we used, and thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, we are here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, group number 5. Maybe I missed it. I didn't get a part of what implication your case had for the society. All right. Group number, oh, you got it here. Okay. Group number 1. Thank you. Who is presenting for group number 1? You can stop sharing that group number. Right. Who is presenting for group number 1? Group number 1, who is presenting for you?
Yes,
want me to
group number
bypass you?
no, group number 1 is me. I'm going to present. Please let me share my screen. I'm trying to share my screen. But I'm not succeeding. I'm not succeeding to share it.
Group number 1, you're taking time. Is there no other person who can share your group presentation for you? If you can't share from there, I think you send it to someone from your group. Let's go to group number 8.
Okay. I think I can share it now. Okay, can you see my screen?
No, it's not showing yet. It's not showing.
Can you stop sharing so I
No?
can share? No.
Now it's showing. Can you put it on presentation mode, please?
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah,
Okay, yes, it's now on presentation mode. Can you see it?
we can see it. We put it on presentation mode, please.
Okay. Okay, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Wamba Chindapoden from Cameroon. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Physics, and I'm studying the intracellular viability of rainfall over Central Africa. I will present this on behalf of the participant of group number 1, case study reproducibility misconduct, the case of Martin Miller-Gerrit. Martin Miller-Gerrit was born on the 13th of April 1937 in Zutphen. He obtained his doctorate at the age of 36, working on political anthropology in rural England. Later on, he also wrote about the relations between the monastic and secular clergy. He soon went on to multiply his scientific publications in the field of political anthropology and became a stalwart professor emeritus at the Rijks University Amsterdam in the Netherlands. His popularity took another turn in the Netherlands 10 years after his retirement in 2002 due to suspicions of scientific misconduct. These were confirmed in September 2013 by an official report from the board committee to which he did not react. As people relayed with his work, they found it difficult to corroborate his report with events that had happened. So the reproducibility problem here is on 3 stages: fabrication, falsification, and methodology. In fabrication, we realize wrong use of standard terms in languages, and data fabrication. In falsification, we notice false history, false cultural presentation, and false event. In methodology, we notice unconfirmed data collection methods, lack of trustworthiness required for qualitative inquiry. As other problems, we notice also plagiarism cited, non-existent work or incorrect works, written misrepresentation, and failure to rectify errors before public notice.
Claudine,
As
I'm not
impact,
sure. Claudine, I'm not sure which slide you are because you're still on the first slide.
I'm already on slide number 5. Other problems means that my screen is not
So can you
seen
show that
well.
because we are still on the first, you're still on the first slide.
I'm going to know. Please. Can you see my screen?
We see your screen, but you're still on the first slide.
Can you drop the slide so that somebody else can present?
I think there's one of your group members who wants to present for you. Can you stop sharing so that your group member can present? Who is presenting for group number 1, please? Who is presenting the slides?
Is the slide up now?
Yeah, we see your slide. Claudine, please, you can speak to the slides now, please. Tell him which slide you are so that direct him on
The
where
slide
to go.
number 5. On slide number 5. I was talking about other problems as plagiarism, cited non-existent work or incorrect works, routine misrepresentation, and failure to rectify errors before public notice. So, as impact the case, we notice also loss of reputation for the case under study, questioned the integrity of the central ethics process at Bridge University, affected the integrity and reliability of the field of scientific research and political anthropology. Then, for named readers, they will have been led astray by the false information in terms of their own research. As resolutions, now we are on slide number 7. We investigation into his writings to ascertain validity and reliability of findings. Retraction of false works to minimize continued circulation. Taking issues of trustworthiness as is required in qualitative inquiry seriously, and engaging in training for better promotion of research integrity. In slide number 8, we can see our references. So as Ryan Fritas said, your reputation is more important than your paycheck, and your integrity is worth more than your career. Thank you for your word attention.
All right. Thank you, group number 5.
1.
Group number 1. Okay. Group number 8, please. Can you stop sharing group number 1? Group number 8, who is presenting for group number 8?
Yes, we are ready.
Who is present for group number 8?
Yes, we are ready. I'm trying just to share it.
And Ajibola has sent out the attendance for today. So please, when you get time, just fill it in before the end of the course. I think the link is on the chat box. Ajibola can share it again. Group number 8, what is happening to you?
I'm trying to share it from Google Drive, but it just tell me there is an error. I'm trying.
Can someone from your group share for you?
Yeah, just give me a second.
For other groups to present, it's good to get your presentation ready before the other groups finish. Get it ready.
Our presentation is ready, but the Zoom application doesn't want to apply a PowerPoint presentation on the mobile. He just wants a PDF or an image. So I'm gonna share it from my laptop. I'm so sorry for that, for being late, but I'm trying to share it as a PDF.
For the attendance, I think you need to fill on the form. Click on the form and fill it. If you write your name on the chat box, you'll be missed. So click the form and then you fill it in there.
Oh, thank you, Nada.
Well, I can present for group 8.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you, Nada. I'm sorry for being late. I'm Dr. Nurhan Mohammed, and I'm a presenter for group number 8. And our presentation case study is about unveiling the John Sodpo case.
Can you go on a slideshow mode, please?
What?
Can you put it on presentation? Who is sharing for group number? Hasna, can you put it on presentation mode? You need to enable editing top there, then you put on presentation mode there.
Is the presentation is available for everyone or not?
Yeah, but it's not on presentation mode.
But what?
It's not on presentation mode. It's now not showing. The person has stopped sharing.
Okay.
Group number 1, are you ready? So that group number 8 can sort themselves out.
Group number 1 already presented. To present for group 8?
Group number 7.
Yes, group number 7, I'll be presenting for the group. Let me share my slide.
Please, okay. All right, group number 8, quickly tell us what group number 7, just hold it. Let's finish with group number 8 now.
Okay, next Nada, please. So everyone, hello, this is Dr. Nurhan Mohammed. I'm a presenter of group number 8, and we are here to tell you that Dr. John Sodbu was a Norwegian doctor and scientist who focused on researching for the oral cancer treatment. Actually, his reputation suffered a lot when it was revealed that he had committed a scientific misconduct by fabricating the data in the research including creating fake participants and manipulating. This behavior led to a retraction of many of his papers, of course, causing concerns about the integrity and ethics of scientific research. Next, please. So, do you think what Dr. John Sodbu do? Dr. John Sodbu was specialized in a discipline of studying oral cancer and analyzing the influence of NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, on the treatment and prevention of cancer. Next. This happened in a country called Norway. It's a country in the Northern Europe known for its excellent standards in medical research and ethical behavior. Despite this being mainly based in Norway, but actually Dr. Sodbu's immoral actions had a wide-reaching effects that across the international medical and scientific societies. Next. Let's just give some insights into the John Sodbu scientific misconduct case. This case is really a standout as a prominent example of scientific misconduct in recent times, and here is why. Because regarding fabrication and falsification of data, as he especially focused on oral cancer and the effect of NSAIDs and published these results in prestigious medical journals. Number two, his exposure and inquiry. As number three, he just lets these misbehavior led to a retraction of his published work. And you have to know something, after the investigation, several of his research papers were withdrawn from journals, including one from The Lancet, one of the prestigious medical journals that initially gained him an international recognition. Next. So what happened in this case? Actually, Dr. Sodbu was a dentist and a consultant oncologist and researcher, had published a report of a study suggesting that non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen reduced the risk of oral cancer in smokers. And this report appeared in this prestigious journal, The Lancet, in October 2005. Another researcher at the Norwegian Institute of Public Health noted that the data set that had been reportedly and used to draw the data was not open at that time of the study, and this raised the alarm. After that, Dr. John admitted to fabricating the data for 900 participants in the study and using a fictional data in at least 2 other papers. Of the 38 articles published by him since 1993, 15 articles have been condemned as fraudulent by the Independent Committee of Inquiry established to investigate this scandal. Next. So what is the problem of this case? The problem is that the breaking trust in medical studies. John Sodbu's action violated the principles of scientific integrity and ethics in medical research, which of course are very essential and crucial for ensuring accurate and reliable findings which misleads the scientific community. Number two, of course, there are reproducibility problems in this case, as other scientists couldn't replicate his findings because the data he created and falsified couldn't be verified. And this is very crucial in a field like oncology, where findings affect medical decision and patient treatment. This made people doubt the credibility of John Sodbu's work. Next. So, what do you think of strategies to resolve the problems arising from this case? Number one, we suggest that we improved the peer evaluation and data auditing. Number two, the training on research ethics and integrity. If any researcher in this field know or had a knowledge about plagiarism, data falsification, conflict of interest, and the proper handling of research subject, this is going to be learned about the importance of transparency and reproducibility in scientific investigation. Number three, encourage openness and data sharing. When we encourage openness and data sharing, the researcher can share their data with others for verification and collaboration. Next. So what is the impact of John Sodbu's case on research, science, and society? Of course, for science, it's one of the scandal for society or for scientific honesty, as Jane Sodbu's case has raised the need to maintain the integrity and ethics in scientific research. Number two, it's a very, very reproducibility problem, and of course, patient care. His research focused on a cancer treatment. Did you imagine? A cancer treatment. Any researcher could just have been misled by these results, which is already a fake result. Number three, it's of course a damage to public trust in science, as an instance of misconduct like that can damage the confidence that the public has in scientific studies and the medical field. Briefly, John Sodbu's case served as a wake-up call, reminding the scientific community worldwide about the critical importance of integrity and honesty in every aspect of research. Thank you. These are our references, and thank you so much. I'm sorry for being late and sorry for the connection. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's go to group number 7. Group number 7. I thought you were handily ready. Is group number 7 not there anymore?
Yes, I'm trying to share, Prof. I'm here. I'm trying to share. It's telling me it's unsupported. Please, can someone else from group 7 help me share? I'm using phone. Probably that's the cause. Good. Good day, everybody. My name is Dr.
Can you put it, Khadija, can you put it on presentation mode, please? See on the lowest part of your page there, where you, just click that. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thanks very much, Khadija. Good day, everybody. I am Clara Akpan, and I'm making this presentation in respect of Group 7. It's a case study on Jean Philip Rushton. Next slide, please. Next slide. Introduction. Jean Philip Rushton was a professor of psychology at the University of Western Ontario. He was born on 3rd December 1943 in England and died on 2nd October 2012. He was known for his racist researches and publications. He reported that whites averaged higher IQ, brain size, socioeconomic positions, and other things compared to the blacks. Next. What happened in the case? One, he theorized that intelligence was racially based, that Asians were more intelligent than whites and whites were more intelligent than blacks. He also reported that whites have, on the average, more neurons, cranial size than blacks. That blacks have an advantage in sports because they have narrower hips. Now he said that they have narrower hips because they have smaller brain size. That was his exact quotation. Next slide, please. What's the problem with this case? One, publication of research work with methodological flaws. The case was also that of racially biased and without appropriate ethics approval in most of his works. His reports and his group's fundings of like minds fueled racism for decades. He also promoted white supremacy agenda. There are also ethical concerns about the nature and funding of his researches. Reproducibility problems, yes, there are. His methodology couldn't be replicated by other scientists. In some cases, his papers ignored alternative explanations or competing evidences that did not support his racist hypothesis. Next. What's the remedy for the problems identified? 1. Ethical review boards should pass research protocols that are ethically sound. Secondly, to incorporate anti-racism into research and promote solutions by facilitating critical thoughts that address specific aspects of the research process. And also peer reviewing of manuscripts before publication is also very, very important. Next. The impacts of this case in the field of research, science, or society. Rushton's works continue to be used by white supremacists, even after some of the works have been retracted. This shows that the impact of flawed science lives on, even after qualified scholars have condemned its scientific integrity. Also, people exposed to racism have poorer health outcomes, especially that of mental health. They have reduced access to healthcare and other amenities, and also have poorer patient experiences when they are sick. Next. Further thoughts. The scientific community must be vigilant to avoid another Philip Rushton. That's another person that will bring in racist experience into research. Next. These are references. Next. Thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you very much, group number 7. Let's go to group number 2. I think group number 2, please.
Yes, I'm going to share my slides. Just give me a moment. Okay. I hope my slides can be seen.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So my name is Pascal Kamgare. I'll be presenting on behalf of Group 2. Case was on D. Yes, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
My name is Pascal Kamgare. I'll be presenting the case on behalf of Group 2. Our case was on Dietrich Staple, also known as the con man. This is the outline of our presentation. We'll have a brief background and look at some different look at the impact there in terms of reproducibility that the case has and its impact in the field of research and society, and we'll take some of our thoughts. So Dietrich Staple was a very famous, very well-renowned. He was a maverick in his field. He was a Dutch social psychologist who obtained his PhD from the University of Amsterdam in 1997. He was a professor of psychology and was working at the University of Tilburg in 2006 and was caught for academic fraud in 2011. When he was caught, he admitted to be fabricating over 55 publications, which have since been retracted. Some of these publications were in high-end journals such as Science and Nature, and he's been fabricating data and then research since 2003 to 2011 when he was caught. He was noted to have fabricated and manufactured results and data. So if he was conducting a research and the data or the results finding of the research did not meet the outcomes that he desired, he will alter the results so that they'll meet the outcomes that he desired. He also fabricated research. Some of the researches that he claimed to have done, he never conducted them at all. He would just fabricate data sets just to support a research that he was thinking about, but never conducted the research. And some of the researches he did conduct, the places he claimed to have conducted could not have produced the results that he had claimed to have gotten. And it was noted that some of his misconduct went beyond academic fraud. We all know that research requires fundings, and some of the fundings that he got for researches that were never conducted, the question was, what happened to these funds? So when it comes to the problem of reproducibility with this case, We know that in the case of Dietrich Staple, he falsified, fabricated, and manipulated data. And in turn, will make it difficult for other researchers and scientists to reproduce or corroborate his findings altogether. But what does this have in terms of society and research and in the field of science? Well, one, it can breed distrust. He was, like I said, he was a maverick. He was a well-renowned and well-known researcher in his field. But if someone such who's well-renowned and well-noted and well-respected in that field is fabricating results, then how about those who are not well-renowned? How about the other authors and researchers in that field? Are they also fabricating results? And this may lead to distrust in the field. Also, we know that research generates knowledge, and this knowledge informs policies and interventions as a whole, clinical guidelines and clinical societies. So if these interventions and policies are based off falsified data, fabricated work and research, then it can lead to interventions causing harm to people who are receiving it, and having policies not achieving the outcomes that they are looking for. And this can further cause policymakers to distrust research and science altogether and not use them to make informed decisions when they are making policies. It also will lead to other people who may have worked with them, who may be producing genuine work. Their work will also be called into question. As a professor in the field, he was also in charge of supervising PhD students. And some of his PhD students, unknown to them, Dietrich gave them falsified data and fabricated data for their PhD thesis. And because of this, even though they did not know, in future, because they were associated and were supervised with him, work they may do genuinely, other people may be suspicious of it because they may feel that they were mentored by Dietrich, so they may also be fabricating work, even though they may not be. Also, let's not forget that the reputation of the university that he worked with will also be called into question. Most times, fundings for research goes through universities, and monies for grants are gone into through universities. And in the case of Dietrich, where he did not perform some of these experiments and then research, the question was, where did the funds go? Therefore, the university's reputation will be held at stake. And this can also have an effect on other researchers who work in the universities and not in the field of psychology, because they may find it hard to get funding for genuine research they are planning to do because of Dietrich's actions. Now, what are the remedies some we identified? Well, one, for journals to be more vigilant. He published fraudulent work in high-end journals. So it's up to journals to also be vigilant and scrutinize work and data that is presented to them, not just relying on the person's reputation that he's well-known, therefore he's incapable of fabricating work. Also, universities can also get independent parties to validate any work or research that is being presented on their behalf, so that they can identify misconduct before they let it get published and cause irreparable damage in the scientific community. Also, the publish or perish mentality, whereby researchers are forced to meet quotas of publishing papers, that if they don't publish this amount of papers, they may not be promoted. And this will pressure them to lead to fraudulent work, subpar research, and then this can have an impact as a whole. Also, strengthening the peer review process. Sometimes peer review, people who know each other within the same field, because he was very popular, someone reviewing his work will say, oh, this is Dr. Dietrich. He's a very renowned, so his work is standard and up to par, and not scrutinize the work that he's presented. Therefore, we need more stringent peer review processes to avoid this from happening. For us, we also need to educate ourselves in research method, academic research, and then appraisals, so that when we are reading any research or journal, we can analyze it critically and spot discrepancies within the article and know whether to take it with a pinch of salt. The fact that the paper is coming from a high-end journal does not mean it is free of misconduct or misrepresentation. To conclude, this is a closing remark from Dietrich from one of his autobiography. They need to score ambition, laziness, nihilism, want for power, status anxiety, desire for solution, unity, pressure to publish, arrogance, emotional detachment, loneliness, disappointment, ADD, addictions to answers. Thank you very much. This is our references.
All right. Thank you, group number 2, for that. Well, one thing that I didn't see was to give an example of some of the things, the data Spapel fabricated in his publication. One of those was that he said that carnivorous, those who eat meat, were more selfish than vegetarians. Did you see that?
Yes, and then the popular one was that he said that people and data environment made people more racist than when they were in a clean environment, and he did that experiment at the train station.
Mm-hmm. And so these were high-profile publications that got interest of whether you're a scientist or not, and the media carried it, and eventually it turned out to be, well, there are many things you can dig into some of these cases later on. So before group 4 comes on, please, each group, I would like you to share your presentations on the course group WhatsApp. So please share your presentations there. Every group, share your presentations on that. All right, group number 4, let's hear you. That's the last presentation. I see your hand, Ibrahim Dawood. Are you presenting for group number 4?
No. Yakoba, I'm presenting for group 4.
Please.
One moment.
I'm not the one that's supposed to present, but I'm trying to like share the screen. All right.
Can you see my slides, please?
Yeah, I can see your slides now, please. Go ahead.
Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I represent group 4, and this evening we want to introduce to you a gentleman who has been nicknamed Dr. Death. We titled our presentation The Rise and Fall of Paolo Macchiarini. These are the members of the group, and this is our introduction. Dr. Death had it all going for him. He was a breakthrough scientist who developed the world's first artificial trachea in 2011, using a plastic replica seeded with patient stem cells to prevent rejection. Unfortunately, Dr. Death made many mistakes in his career, but what is of relevance to us today is the allegation of research misconduct that was leveled against him by his colleagues and upon further investigation. His life story has been so dramatic that several soap operas have been written from his story, one of which is called Dr. Death. So let's go ahead and see what happened to Dr. Death. Paolo Macchiarini is an Italian thoracic surgeon and researcher. He was born in Switzerland. He studied medicine in the University of Pisa in Italy and eventually worked at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. He was a surgeon, as I said, and his interest was in regenerative medicine and stem cell research. He gained international attention for his groundbreaking work in development of the world's first synthetic windpipe and transplanting them with synthetic scaffold seeded with a patient's stem cells. Unfortunately, a few years after his first few surgeries, levels were raised against him in Italy and in Sweden. Dr. Death did very well in the beginning by introducing the artificial trachea. But after a few years, there were a few deaths, and he published some cases. Investigations were put in place. He was cleared by his university. But one researcher kept saying that he wasn't comfortable and he thought that there was some misconduct in Dr. Death's cases. External research, external validation was sought, and it was found that Dr. Death was guilty of research misconduct. What did he do? There was misrepresentation and exaggerated data resulting in publication retraction due to flawed methodologies, manipulation of images, manipulation of the data, and misleading claims about patient outcome. And in some instances, he failed to cite properly data he had used. There was also conflict of interest. It was found out later on that he had financial ties with the company producing the scaffold, and this raised concerns about bias and influence for why he was doing his work. There was also the use of unvalidated, unproven, and risky procedures. You'll be surprised to hear that there was no or very little preclinical testing in animals or even small studies before he actually started using his scaffolds on real-life patients in his hospital. In some instances, he operated on healthy people and thus exposed patients to unnecessary risk leading to death in several patients. He violated the ethics of research and compromised scientific integrity and public trust in medical research. There was failure to uphold ethical and scientific standards, and he harmed the reputation of the institution he worked with, particularly Karolinski Institute, particularly because they had cleared him earlier on before it was found that he was guilty of academic misconduct. So what are the effects of his work? Research, fraud, and scientific misconduct, as I've shown. There was also research-related crimes in Italy and Sweden. He had falsified data, and because of what he had done, his contract as a researcher was terminated, and some of his manuscripts were retracted. The reputation of co-authors were affected. The reputation of Karolinski Institute was also affected. And people supported him and gave him recommendations and who cleared him. For example, soon after all this happened, the vice chancellor of his institute had to resign. The main problem with his work was that there was lack of reproducibility. There was lack of transparency. There was difficulty in replicating his findings. And this raised concern about the validity of his cases and his work that he claimed to have done. Our recommendation is that there should be improvement in research ethics infrastructure. This would ensure that robust oversight mechanisms and clear guidelines are available to prevent misconduct. Ethical committees must also rigorously assess risk and benefit in research, especially when it involves human subjects. As all other presenters have said, there must be open access to data and protocols to foster research integrity and allow for independent verification. What are the lessons learned from Dr. Death? This case highlights the importance of scientific integrity and emphasizes the need for robust safeguards against misconduct. The incident sparked discussions about balancing innovation with patient safety and informed consent. And since then, journals are implementing stricter editorial procedures to ensure research quality and prevent fraud. The case of Dr. Death is a stark reminder of the potential consequences of prioritizing personal ambition because he had been the first to get the transplant, of course, the need for fame, the need for research, the need for publication over ethical research practices. It's also a stark reminder that fostering a culture of open communication and skepticism within the scientific community is crucial to identify and addressing potential misconduct. For example, a colleague of his, a Belgian, was the first to suggest that he thought there was something funny with Dr. Death's publication. The case underscores the importance of independent and transparent investigations into allegations. This is seen from the case where Karolinski Institute investigated the case themselves and cleared him. And later on, when an external investigator was introduced, he was found guilty of the charges leveled against him. Thank you very much for listening.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. You can see we have gone through 8 cases. There are hundreds of them, if not thousands, that have been documented across fields. So when you sit and you listen to all these things, I'm not sure what is running through your mind, but that is what we are seeing. You see, what we have looked through now are high-profile ones that receive global attention. All right. From recently, you heard about what happened in Stanford, the president of Stanford. What happened in Harvard. These are cases that are happening. So we have just reviewed the cases this evening. we will next week continue to look at why do people do what they do, these things, why do people engage in these things. Just give me a few of your minutes before I send you home for today. Okay, the lessons from the cases is that research misconduct is no respect of discipline. We have cut across many disciplines now: physical sciences, social sciences, humanities, medical sciences. The story is the same. The story is the same. That some of us have come into the space we are working on. We have a mandate. They put it under the carpet. They went for their own ambition. And you see, one of the issues from what we have heard now is that it's dangerous. If research is to support societal development, bad research is dangerous. It's so dangerous, it can cause lots of problems. All right? So it's no respect of discipline. It's no respect of career age. Can you see from the Japanese one, the junior researcher, to some of the ones we have reviewed, some of those who are top professors? It doesn't matter. People can engage in this misconduct regardless of their career age. It's also no respect of gender. So in the cases we have looked at, both men and women are involved in the misconduct we have seen. All right? And the other demographics, whether it's from China, from wherever, from US, from Netherlands, from Sweden, we have bad guys everywhere. All right? So that's the problem. And I wanted to send you out for a breakout session, but we don't have the time. But this take-home meditation. Of course, we have aligned several of our thoughts to this angle. What is the implication for Africa? Do research misconduct exist in Africa? What types of misconduct are there? To what extent are the misconduct? How do we find out about the misconduct? You see, why we know some of these things is that there are platforms that can be used to detect what is happening in this part of the world. But in Africa, how do we find out? What is the level of misconduct we have there? All right? This is food for thought. And perhaps we can also set up a way to document this for the purpose of changing the tide. All right? And so what has happened is Retraction Watch. I'm not sure how many of you who are familiar with this system. Just give me a minute and let me show you. Retraction Watch. This is a very important platform that is documenting what is happening. All right? You can see lots of the week at Retraction Watch featured. These are the featured studies. Featured. So it's documenting, tracking papers have been published and have been retracted. This week, you can see those papers have been retracted. You can see them. Just go here. You can see many of these papers that have been retracted because of misconduct, different types of misconduct that happen there. Sometimes not necessarily misconduct, it may also be some mistakes that are unintentional. All right, I will put the link to this thing here so that you can also check it out yourself later on. Okay, the economics of irreproducibility. Okay, there is a study that was conducted in the US And they found that of the $56 billion annual research funding assigned to biomedical research in the US, out of the $56.4 billion annually that is given to research funding in the biomedical sciences, they calculated and estimated that half of that actually, $28.2 billion are spent on research that cannot be reproduced. All right? Spent on research that cannot be reproduced. And you know what this is? You know what this is? I'm not sure what the budget of all countries in Africa put together is. All right? And if half of this cannot be reproduced, it means that in these fields, what happens is that half of the money spent, I don't know which word you can use. Half of the money is what? Can you find the word for me? Half of the money spent in research area is what?
Wasted.
It's wasted. It's wasted.
Embezzled.
Is it embezzled? It's wasted.
Wasted.
Wasted. It's wasted.
Wasted, not embezzled.
This is pathetic.
Goes to the drain.
This is pathetic. It means it's thrown away by those who are the lights or the eyes of the society. Such amount of money is wasted. All right. So irreproducibility undermines cumulative knowledge production. It raises false alarm. It contributes to delay in development of interventions, medical interventions, social interventions, policy interventions. Increases cost of development of interventions. Meta-analysis of studies may lead to wrong conclusions. Negative effects on guidelines and policies. Clinical trials based on fake data can lead to harm, wastage of resources and time. Integrity of science is questioned. It undermines public trust of science. Career of those who are involved in this and co-authors is affected negatively. This is where I will stop today. This is where I will stop today. We will dig deeper into these issues from next week. We'll dig deeper. I just wanted you to have a highlight of this because we will now want to do what is the cause of all this? Why do people do this? And how do we remedy it? What are the initiatives that have been set in place to remedy that? But I would like to close today by saying the African Science Frontiers initiatives, one of the things we are doing is that we engage in research, okay, to uncover some of the issues the African scientists are facing. We have an ongoing research, in fact, two, but I will introduce one to you today. Perhaps next week, I will introduce the other one. The one we have here is that we want to actually uncover the issue of funding of research in Africa. We want to know your experience. We want to document this. We want to collect this data to begin to tell the story of issues of funding. What are the challenges? What are the bottlenecks you have? What are your experiences? So we have developed a survey. I've developed it some time ago, and we sent it. Some of you may not have received because you have not been on our email list then. We sent it to over 7,000 Africans, but pathetically, we got just over, is it 200 or so? People responded. And that is the problem. The attitude of the African researcher to participate in things that will support them. So I want to bring it to the audience here. To help us, I will share this link with you. To help us to fill this survey. If you can do it before we meet next week, it will be fantastic. But I'm appealing to you. it is for all of us. You see what we have done now? We have gone through the nature survey, documenting the experience of researchers with regards to reproducibility. These surveys actually lead to initiating interventions that will help to deal with this issue. And for us, we want to generate this evidence so that we can begin to initiate discussions. If the problem is with the government, we begin to have discussions. We begin to bring government on board. If it's the private sector, we begin to bring on board to discuss the issue of research funding and how that can be done to help the African researcher. So please help us. After this class, we'll also post it on the WhatsApp box. The only thing people complain is this, that the survey is long. Yes, we agree with that. But you see, if you look at the things you have said today, African problem, if you want to write it in a paper, is long. And I know you agree with me on that. That is why the survey is long. But please, just patiently do it, because that is the way it's done, even in this part of the world. If that is the only thing you can do to contribute to what we are giving you this 1 month and so, we appreciate it. It is for all of us. So please find time to fill it. We'll continue to remind you, and I believe that you will support us in this way. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for joining this evening, and we'll see you again next week. We'll continue to communicate on the WhatsApp platform. Any update? Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you, God
Thank you, everyone.
bless you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, bro.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice
We
weekend.
appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Enjoy your position. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Group 4 presenter and every other person.
Presenters.
Thank you for the class
Thank
attendance.
you to Group
Thank
7
you all
presenter
presenters. Thank you, Group
and
5
all Group
presenters.
7 members.
Thank you for exposing us to plagiarism and so on in academic research.
Great job. Thank you.